You can ship an AI agent inside your application without writing a single line of code using Claude Managed Agents. I have my customer support agent for one of my SaaS application which is helping my user to answer all of their queries at that particular moment without me having to be involved at all. For instance, one of my user asked my agent, I exported my video but there is a watermark to it. How can I get rid of it? Then my agent will answer the customer query within matter of seconds. You are on a free plan and that's why there is a watermark to your exported video. It is able to answer precisely with all of this accurate answer because we have stored all of our knowledge base inside our agent, plus we have given it access to web fetch so that it can go to my pricing page, understand what our terms and conditions are and give the user precise and detailed answer they need. This is just one example of Claude Managed Agent you can build for an application. Then you can build incident commander, support to engineering escalator, contract renewal, deep researcher and many others. So let's build our own Claude Managed Agents completely from scratch and you will understand what is the difference between Claude Routines and Claude Managed Agents and when to use which one. Plus you will understand what are the tool set you can give to your agent and which environment you need to create. To start building Claude Managed Agents, you need to head over to platform.claude.com and log in or sign up with your existing account, where you will see this beautiful dashboard, and here you need to top up with API credits to run Claude Managed Agents. But before we start building anything, let us understand how Claude agents actually work in the backend, and you will see Claude response, number of tokens consumed, what type of tool call you can attach to your agent and different prompt messaging style. Therefore, head over to the playground inside build section where you will be able to simulate Claude response and see what is actually going on in the backend. Right now we are on the front end page which is claude.ai and we are giving this simple prompt which is to read this paper and explain what this paper means by a circuit. First of all, it will perform web fetch tool call to get this paper and understand and read it through and then give us the answer what the circuit means. Here is our entire answer, but you're not able to see how much input and output token it consumed, how much time it took to answer this entire result, and any customization that you want to apply. You are very limited in that way. But with Playground, you can stimulate whatever in whichever condition that you want for your agent. So first of all, let's select our model to build our request or query. You can hover over any of this model and you will see the tools or capabilities they have, their context window maximum output. For instance, if we hover over to Haiku 4.5, it does not have code execution capability, whereas with all of the Sonnet, Fable 5 Opus, they all have state-of-the-art features and they are much larger model to solve your complex queries. Then you can play around with advanced configuration for your model. Let's click on this button and we will first of all select our fallback model which is Opus 4.5. Do we need to enable our thinking or keep it adaptive? We can select the speed, standard or fast, the maximum token, output configuration, as well as you can also play around with the temperature. Any LLM model will have a temperature range from 0 to 1. High value means it will generate more creative responses, whereas lower values will provide much more predictable answers. Moving forward, you can give your agent's tool call. For instance, I have given this agent the access to web fetch. Therefore, it will have access to head over to this particular research paper, get the content or retrieve the data and then answer of it. Here you can even customize your agent's tool call capabilities. For instance, I want to restrict this agent to only fetch data from these domains or to block these domains and never fetch data from them. Then you can enable maximum uses in case you want. Same goes for the maximum context token. Now in order to add different type of tool calls, click on add. And first of all, we will need to add our system field prompt. So here is our system field prompt which is already added. Then you can also add structure output, which means that your agent will give answer or response in a particular structure format that you like. Next, we can add web search tool, code execution tool, advisor. This is a new tool which basically means that you can select a higher or faster model and it will consult or advise your current existing session mid-turn. In simple terms, this advisor tool will act as a mentor to your current Claude Code session and see if it is working in the right way or wrong way. Then if you are doing something around web automation, you can enable computer use and even execute bash commands from the session. Here I am just using one tool which is web fetch for this example, but feel free to play around with other tools and see how they are working and actually navigating the request step by step in the playground. Moving forward, let's understand three different roles in any messages API. Either it can be Anthropic API or OpenAI API key. You will find these three roles which are system message, second is user message, and last is assistant message. In simple terms, they are just who is speaking labels that will shape how Claude behaves. First is our system fill prompt, which is instruction given by you, the developer, on how Claude should behave for the whole conversation. So it's not the part of the chat itself, it's like a job description. Claude will treat this with the highest authority, and the end user will never see this or able to rewrite this. This is where your Claude personas, rules and guardrails will go. Then comes user message, which is basically your customer or end user message like their questions, requests, follow-ups. Without a user message, your session won't be able to start. For instance, this is our user message, and without this, the session won't start. Then lastly, we have assistant message, which is Claude response with their answers and all the tool calls it has used in the previous conversation. So when you continue a conversation via an API, you can send the whole history back each time. So previous assistant turn gets a full included assistant message, so Claude knows what it has already talked and already did in the previous turn. By adding this assistant message button, you can build a multi-turn behavior in your playground. It is basically acting as a memory that is sending all the old messages to your current agent. Again, to summarize, we have first of all select our model, then attach the tools that we want to have, then the system fill prompt where we are saying that hey Claude, act as a research assistant, and here is our user message. Read this particular article and explain in plain English what is a circuit. So let's click on run. Here you can see it has kick off our assistant. First of all, it will perform web research by using this tool that we have attached, retrieve all the data and provide us with its response. Then at the bottom, you will see how much credit it consumes, and this is the input token and this is the output token plus the time taken by this agent. Therefore, you can easily stimulate any conversation and see what is actually going on in the backend. So we have the same query in the front end, and here is our answer and the tool call, but you won't be able to see anything with the number of input and output tokens, how much time it consumes. But inside Playground, you can play around with different type of configuration that you want to customize for your agent. Here you might be asking, why does input is 18,000 tokens? Because input tokens are everything your model will read. It will first of all read your system fill prompt, then your message, then this entire fetch web page content plus all the tool use bookkeeping, and that's why your input token is so large, because the article itself consumes more than 15,000 tokens. Then we have the output token, which is everything the model wrote to you, the visible answer plus its tool call block. Then we have the cost estimate for using Opus 5 and its pricing. And at last, we have the wall clock time for the whole run, including the web fetch. Therefore, in most of the cases, input tokens are almost always the big numbers in tool using request, because it will fetch those pages or documentation or any prior conversation all count as the input on every single call. Now, once you are happy with your message API request, you can actually take this code, give it to Claude Code, and you will have this exact same agent inside your application or wherever you want to deploy this. Inside Playground, you can also attach files and skills to your agent. Here are the default skills, but you can also create and add any skill that you like and you want to attach to your agent. But now coming to the main part of this video, which are managed agents, how we can build them and use them inside your application. Before we start building our managed agents, you just need to understand that they are pre-built configuration agent harness that runs in the managed infrastructure. So it will allow your Claude to act as an autonomous agent instead of you having to build the entire agent loop, all the tool execution and runtime, but you are here getting the full managed environment where Claude can read the files, run commands, browse the web and run code securely, and this harness supports built-in prompt catching, compactation and other performance optimization for high quality efficient agent output. So without using this Claude Managed Agents, you have to build everything from scratch in order to deploy any agent to your application. But by using Claude Managed Agents, it takes away all of this particular task and refinement, and we can easily plug and play inside our application within matter of minutes and even without writing a single line of code. So the four core concepts for any Claude Managed Agent are, first of all, its agent, then second is environment, session and events. In the agent concept, it's basically like your model, system prompt, all the tool and MCP servers and the skills you want to give to your agent. Then what is environment? It is like a configuration on where your session will run. Either it will run on a self-hosted environment or it will run on Anthropic's infrastructure. Then session is basically a running agent instance within an environment performing a specific task and generating its output. For instance, this is my Claude Code session performing a particular job that I have given it and performing those actions and running my agent inside my VS Code ID. Therefore, in a similar manner, this Claude Managed Agent sessions are running in the environment that we have given it. And the last is event, which is basically message exchange between your application and your agent. For instance, this agent will trigger or start working whenever someone submits a customer support query inside my application. So that is an event where the message is exchanged between the user and my agent. I hope it makes sense that these are the 4 key things you need to create a Claude Managed agent. First is obviously configuring with your agent, then environment, and then session and the integration or the event or trigger part. Inside Quick Start, you can browse around with different templates, or you can easily chat and build this Claude Managed agents just by typing in plain English. For instance, we want to build a customer support agent for my application, which is TiltIt and 3D animation software. So whenever someone will have any particular question about my application, they can easily chat and interact with my Claude Managed agents and get the answer instantly. So my simple request is customer support agent for my application, and I have provided the URL. On the right hand side, you will see the actual source codes of your agent. You can see it is writing in real life. We have the name of the agent, the model it has used. And if you want to change any of the model or description, you can click on keep refining and say use model Opus. Awesome. So it's switched to Claude Opus 5. Now let's create this agent and then we will move on creating the environment. We are done with the first part and let's move on to the second part. Agent created. Next, let's configure our environment. It is as easy as that. So an environment is basically a container template that your agent will run at. So we want to run this agent inside the environment of Anthropic Sandbox self-managed agents and not our own self-hosted version. So I will select the environment, or you can also create new one easily. This is the environment ID, and then it will start the session. Just to test it out. Let's click on test run. Here is the prompt. I have exported my video, but there is watermark to it. I am on the free plan, and how can I get rid of it? Here is our user message. The first is session has started. Here is the agent answer, and this is the timing. It took less than a second to respond to our user query. Once the answer is done, it will calculate the input and output token, the catch, the total cost, and then our session will go idle. It won't stop this session, it will be in the idle state. Therefore, whenever a user has next follow-up question or another request, it will have all the previous conversation context and won't forget that first of all user has asked about the watermark issue, but now it is asking for another request. Therefore, once you are happy building this agent, let's click on stop session, and now it's time to integrate this inside our website, application or software that you have. You can trigger this agent by using 2 options. First of all is by using cron job, which is run it on a schedule, or you can call it inside an application. Let's click on the second one, and it will give you the code that you can easily copy and paste it inside Claude Code session, and it will integrate this Claude Managed agent inside the application. So we will copy this, or we can also scaffold inside Claude Code directly from here. That's how you can create Claude Managed agents that you can deploy and ship inside your application just by writing simple prompts. But the problem building Claude Managed agents from the dashboard or this quick start is we have to give full context and literally everything about our particular situation or problem. But the good news is we can build these Claude Managed agents directly from our CLI just by typing in plain English right inside our codebase. So as you can see right now, I am inside my TiltIt codebase, so I don't have to re-explain anything like what this project is about, what we are doing or achieving here. Therefore, I can give the same query, which is to create a customer support agent for our TiltIt application, where it will first of all create the agent, create the environment and session straight away from our CLI without us even having to open our Claude Managed dashboard. It will also perform the testing with the same watermark support question and build robust and much more efficient Claude Managed agents that we actually want. First of all, it has created the agent, its environment, and even added the custom tool, which is escalate to human in case the end user want to actually talk to a human. Therefore, let me show you the difference why you need to build Claude Managed agents straight away from your repo or CLI, as you don't have to explain anything, and it will go ahead and create more robust agents that you actually need. So we have the agent created from the CLI, and here is the dashboard one. So first of all, let's open the dashboard one that we just created by using our quick start. So here is the name, model, description, and the system fill prompt. You can see this system fill prompt is very weak. It is just 2 paragraphs and it is not that descriptive and detailed. It is just like a generic template. Then inside tools, we have these 8 tools, but they are all basic and predefined tools, but it hasn't created any custom tool like we had in our CLI version, which is escalate to human. So if we go back, let's open our CLI one, and you will be able to see the difference. So we have our system field prompt, which is much more descriptive and detailed. It has include all the pages that it need to web fetch in case it does not know the answer correctly. Then it has also created the custom agent, which is escalate to human. Whenever the user is asking for refund or billing dispute, escalate to human support agent. Plus, it will include all the information inside our system field prompt like the pricing page, the number of animations we have inside our application, all the effects, because it has access to our code base and it can get all the information. Whereas just by building inside our quick start, we have to provide all of this information and we might miss some information, and that's why your agent's output won't be that great. But directly by building Claude Managed Agent from CLI, you will be able to create much better agents since it is writing the system field prompt with this precise and detailed information. Now, how you can build this Claude Managed Agents directly from CLI is by installing Anthropic CLI. So just head over to your Claude Code session and let's say install Anthropic CLI. Within seconds, it will install the CLI and you need to authenticate with your Anthropic account. Once done, you will see the entire setup to creating Claude Managed Agents directly from the CLI. So it can create the agents, it can create the environments, and even the session to test run it. Just to show you the difference between the output of your agent, I have used the same query, which is the watermark issue, but by using our CLI agent build. So first of all, it is saying that watermark is part of free plan, upgrade to pro lifetime. Then it will perform web fetch to my TiltIt pricing page. So let me show you. So if we head over to pricing, it will have all of this information because the user has asked what exactly do I will get if I pay for the premium plan. And here is the final answer after it has performed the web research. So with the pro version, you will get all the animation presets, no watermark obviously, unlimited export and what have you. Now let's compare the agent output that we built from the dashboard. We have the same query, but it will give you a basic answer like this one. Since it does not have any context about our application first of all, so there is nothing inside a system field prompt, nor it is performing any web research because it does not know literally anything about our application or type of sub pages we have inside our code base. To summarize my point, always build Claude Managed Agents directly from the CLI inside your actual code base. Inside the console, you can see all the nitty-gritty details about your agent's execution. So it consumes around 15,000 input tokens and 500 output tokens, number of seconds or minute it consumed, and this is the total cost. Now you might be asking why did it consume 7,000 token even it did not perform any tool call like this web fetch one of the pricing page, because in the first execution your agent will read the entire system field prompt for the first time, your user message and all the tool packaging that it needs. That's why it has consumed 7,000. Then in the second execution it has consumed over 8,000 tokens because our tool call. Now let's understand what are these tool calls that we are giving to our agent and how they work in real life as well as inside your Claude Code session normally. Here are the 8 built-in tools that our agent can call. Obviously we can attach the MCP server or connectors like Gamma, Figma, whatever you want to attach to your agent plus any custom tools. But let's talk about the 8 built-in one. First is bash. Bash command means it can perform any action from your operating system or your current MacBook or Windows inside CLI or cell sessions. To show you one visual example, whenever I have said install Claude Code CLI, you can see it will call this bash command. So this is the bash command where it will be able to interact with our operating system inside its terminal. So this is the command and this is the output. Therefore, whatever you can do manually or by hands with your operating system or inside terminal, Claude Code can do it easily by using bash commands. And that's why these agents and our Claude Code session have that autonomy that it is working on its own without disturbing us or without us having to navigate or steer each and every single step. It can use these bash commands on its own and create our agent test session environment without us having to lift a finger. Moving forward to our next built-in tool, which is read. As the name suggests, it will read a file from our file system. Just to show you what it means, Here you can see after it has performed action with bash command, it needs to read the output of it, and that's why it will use the built-in tool of read. And then after reading this output, it will move forward to the next step of sequence it needs to take. In a similar manner, we have write and edit built-in tool, and as the name suggests, write is basically creating a new file inside of a file system, and editing means there is already file created but we need to perform any modification to it. Inside our Claude Code session, you will often see your agents are writing or creating new file. In this example, we are creating a manage agent animation director.md file. So this file wasn't present there. Our Claude Code session used this built-in tool of write to create this file. Likewise, inside edit tool, you can see this file was already created, but we need to perform any modification or change this file. That's why it will use this edit built-in tool to modify or change anything inside our current file system. Next, we have glob tools, which is basically glob patterns that will help us pattern matching our file system much more faster and efficient. For instance, I want to find all the files that exist under app/maildoso inside my folder. So let's give it a go, and it will use our glob tool to perform fast file pattern matching using glob patterns. You can see inside the result is search for one pattern, and how it is doing that by using glob patterns. Next tool we have is grep, which help your agent to perform text search using regex pattern. Whenever we want to search for a particular text search like draw Claude Center, and we want to use our grep built-in tool to search for that. It is searching for one regex pattern to perform text search across our code base. And last two are web fetch and web search. Web fetch basically means it will fetch content from a specific URL. In this example, we have used this specific URL that it needs to go and fetch on, and that's why it will use web fetch tool. Then last but not least, for web search, as the name suggests, it will search the web to gather information for that particular topic. So whenever you will go to Claude or Claude Code and say something about, can you research about this topic or this individual, it will use web search to search on the web to collect or gather that information for us. So here we have the web search tool, web search tool. Here is the output of them. So now you know all the built-in tools that you have inside your Claude Managed Agents or Claude Code session, and obviously you can play around with the tool's permission. For example, I don't want to allow it to perform web search, nor I want to give it any permission to modify or create new files. I just want to have it read and perform web fetch inside our Claude Managed Agents. Now you might be asking, what is the difference between Claude Routines versus Claude Managed Agent? See, they are totally different things and they are used for different use cases. Claude Routines are basically for your personal use. Let's say I have created this routine that will gather all the AI news that has happened in the last 24 hours and will send me daily summary about this. This is for my personal use case. Whereas with Claude Managed Agents are stateful. But what does that mean? It means that your user can have ongoing or continuous conversation with your Claude Managed Agent without your agent losing any context or conversation that it had with the user before. Therefore, my user can have back and forth conversation with my agents, and once they are happy, my agent will move to the ideal state, but it is not terminated. If the user has another question after 7 days or even after 30 days, it can resume the conversation with the same context without forgetting or repeating anything from the user side. That is the key differentiator between Claude Routines versus Claude Managed Agents. Claude Routines are stateless, which means that you cannot have back and forth conversation, you cannot interrupt them as they are running on Anthropic servers, and you can think of Claude Routines as a deterministic automation, whereas with Claude Managed Agents, they are autonomous agents working in the cloud 24/7 for you. To put in clear comparison, it is an API product. It is server-hosted agents that you can embed inside your application, whereas with Claude Routines, they are for your personal automation features for a Claude Code or a Claude AI. But one thing you need to understand here is they are consuming from a Claude Max subscription, which means that you don't have to pay anything extra in order to run these routines. Whereas with Claude Managed Agents, they are running on your Anthropic API, which means that you have to pay every single time whenever someone will create a new agent or trigger your Claude Managed Agents. Again, to point out that Claude Routines are built for you and your own workflows, whereas Claude Managed Agents are built for a product's customer, which is basically a multi-tenant system. Claude Managed Agents are stateful session, which have full conversation history plus sandbox file persistent on the server side, whereas with Claude Routines, they are stateless, which means that every run will start from zero without having any memory from the previous run or automation. With Claude Routines, you cannot trigger an old execution, you have to start every single time from a fresh new session, whereas with the Claude Managed Agents, they will be in the same session per user, and whenever they are ideal, it is not going to cost you a single penny. It is free. It will only start consuming your API credits when it is actually running. It is around 0.08 session per hour. Feel free to read this and deep deep dive in case you want to learn more about what is the difference between Claude Routines versus Claude Managed Agents. I will have this image first link in the description.